Welcome to Granny SuSu's Story Time, coming to you from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I have a great story to read to you today. I hope you like it as much as I do. Hi, boys and girls. Welcome to Grammy's Story Time. I'm glad to see you all here today. If you're watching this on television, you're probably watching it on a holiday, which we call Martin Luther King Day. It's a very special day marking the birthday of one of the great men of American history. So, no matter when you're watching this story, it's still a really important story to know. So we're going to read a book today in honor of his birthday. And not surprisingly, the book is called Happy Birthday, Martin Luther King. This book is written by Jean Marzollo and illustrated by J. Brian Pinkney. Some of you probably know about Dr. King already, but we're going to go over this and look at some really beautiful pictures about his life too, because it is his birthday. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15th, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. His parents loved him very much. Martin Luther King had the same name as his father, except for one thing. His father was called Martin Luther King Sr. Martin was called Martin Luther King Jr. Martin went to grade school, high school, and college in Atlanta. He was a good student. Later, he went to divinity school in Pennsylvania. Divinity school, in case you don't know what that is a special school, a kind of college, where people learn to be preachers, pastors, ministers, whatever the church you go to calls them. It's where you learn to be a man of God. Martin became a pastor, just like his dad, at the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta. They were both called Reverend, the Reverend Martin Luther King Sr. and the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. It was probably a little confusing. Martin's job as a minister was to help people in need. He visited sick people in the hospital and made them feel better. He asked people not to fight with each other. He said that there were peaceful ways to solve problems. This would be very important in Dr. King's life. And, like his father, Martin led people in prayer and song. The Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. is famous because he helped our country change some of its laws. A law is like a rule. Once there was a law in some places that said only white people could sit in the front of a bus and that black people had to sit in the back. Martin Luther King said, "This needs to be changed." Rosa Parks and other people helped him change that. Now, all people can sit in any empty seat they like. Once, there were laws in some places that said that African Americans could only eat in certain restaurants and use certain drinking fountains. Martin Luther King and many other people helped change these laws too. Now, all people can go to the same restaurants and use the same drinking fountains. Once, there was a law in some places that said that black children and white children couldn't go to school together. Martin Luther King and other people, including very many brave children, had this law changed too. Now, black children and white children go to school together. Martin Luther King had a special talent for leadership. When he spoke, people listened. Poor people, rich people, white people, black people, and people from all around the world listened when he spoke. Many helped him work, march, sing, and pray for justice. You know what justice is? It's when things are fair and equal. In the summer of 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. gave the most famous speech of his life. He gave it outdoors to 250,000 people who had come to Washington, D.C. to ask the president for jobs and freedom for black people. In his speech, Martin Luther King said that he had a dream. His dream was that people everywhere would learn to live together without being mean to one another. Martin Luther King Jr. was killed in 1968. Because he loved poor people so much, he was given a special funeral in Atlanta, Georgia, where he was born. His body was put on a simple farm cart and pulled slowly by 2 mules to a cemetery. Thousands of people walked behind Martin in a sad, loving parade. On his gravestone were carved these beautiful words, "Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last." He wasn't even 40 years old when he died. That may sound old to you, but it's really not very old. Martin Luther King wanted people to be able to go places together, share food together, and love one another in peace. Because he worked so hard for freedom and helped so many people gain it, we honor him each year on his special day. We call this day Martin Luther King Day, and we say to him, "Happy birthday, Martin Luther King." Happy birthday, Martin Luther King. I think you can see that what the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. did really did change my life, your life, all of our lives in America. There's really no part of our lives today that weren't affected by what this one brave, smart, justice-oriented man did. So today, say happy birthday to him. Happy birthday, Dr. Martin Luther King. Bye.